I just took a 4-night cruise to Mexico on Carnival Cruise Line's Carnival Valor. This ship was launched in 2004 and operates 4 and 5-night cruises out of New Orleans, Louisiana. This ship often offers some of the cheapest cruises to the Caribbean available, so in this video I'm going to be giving you a full experience of my cruise and uncover whether or not this cruise is really for the average vacationer or family wanting to travel, or the partier who's looking for more of a booze cruise. Now, my very first day of this cruise started a bit unusual with a delay. The ship was about 6 hours late into New Orleans, which meant that we weren't able to get on board at our originally scheduled boarding time. And this delay was because of Hurricane Milton. The hurricane ended up delaying our cruise ship, the Carnival Valor, and a couple of other ships out there in the Gulf, which also affected them in their other ports that they were going to. But for our case, the hurricane ended up coming in front of the ship's path, so it couldn't make it into New Orleans on time, and it was kind of just sitting farther back in the Gulf until the hurricane was able to pass and make its way to wherever it was going. Now, although the ship was delayed, that didn't necessarily rain on my parade because this is my very first time to New Orleans, so I got a bit of extra time to walk around, go to some different places, and of course get some beignets. And if you go to New Orleans, you can't go there without getting beignets. 10 out of 10, 100% recommend. They are delicious. Now, this cruise, we ended up driving to the port and we needed a place to park, so we ended up booking this place called Fulton Garage or Fulton Place, one of the two. If you look it up on Google, it's gonna pop up for you. But parking there ended up running us about $77 or so. And pro tip, if you want a bit of a discount, because of the place we parked at, again, it's called Fulton Place or Fulton Garage. It's a parking garage, and when you're booking your parking spot, if you choose the rooftop parking, you actually get a bit of a discount than parking on the actual inside of the garage. So if you want to save a little bit of money, make sure you click that option to where you can park on the roof instead of parking inside. Just make sure you're a skilled driver, because if you're not, the parking garage is pretty tight, and to be honest with you, if I was the one driving, we probably would have gotten into a wreck because the garage is pretty tight. But otherwise, I say it's a pretty good option. They also do have a complimentary shuttle service that takes you directly from that parking garage to the cruise terminal. So again, it's all in all a good option if you're looking for somewhere to park while you're in New Orleans. And also, the Fulton Garage is not just for cruise parking. If you're in New Orleans for any other reason and you need somewhere to park, you can also park there. But if you happen to be cruising, it's a great place to park as well. And like I said, they have that complimentary shuttle service. But say you're in a hotel nearby and they don't have parking, which I don't know why they wouldn't have parking at a hotel nearby, but in case they wouldn't, you can park there. Or if you're here for just an event that's happening for the day, you can park there as well. And I believe it runs about $14 per day, something like that. Now, moving on, once we got to the cruise terminal, to be completely honest with you, it was a mess. There was a whole bunch of people everywhere, people leaving and people coming in, and I can almost guarantee you that it wouldn't typically be like this on a normal embarkation day for a cruise out of New Orleans. But because we had that delay, it was extra hectic. And with our arrival and boarding times being all different, people were getting there at incorrect times. Some people were there at right time, but there are specific lines for people who were there on time and people who weren't. And us personally, we got in the line that was for people who weren't there on time, even though we were on time. So we waited in the wrong line for a little bit until people told us that we could have been in the other line, which was moving much quicker, and it was the line that we were supposed to be in. So like I said, it probably wouldn't be this hectic on a normal embarkation day from New Orleans, but because we had as big of a delay as we did have, it was kind of a mess. But once we ended up getting to where we needed to go and getting through all the lines, it was a pretty smooth process. So big kudos to the Port of New Orleans and all the people that worked there for getting all the guests off the ship and all the ones that needed to get on in a pretty timely manner. Because I want to say boarding started at about 4 p.m. and we ended up getting out of port around 6 or 7 p.m. So it was pretty quick turnaround. But again, a big shout out to the staff at the Port of New Orleans for doing a good job getting all of us on board in a timely manner. Now, from this point in the review, I'm going to go ahead and split everything into different categories or different topics, so that's easier for me to rate everything, and so it's easier for you to decide whether you think this is a cruise that is for you or not. So the first category coming up is
the ship, design and cleanliness.
Now, this actually isn't my first time sailing the Valor. I've sailed it about 3 times or so, and it was actually the ship that got me hooked on cruising to begin with. So you can call me biased, but I actually really love the ship. The decor of the ship is more of an elegant American type theme. Some people love it, some people think it's tacky, but me personally, I think it has a lot of character, and it's actually really cool. Now, of course, like I said, the ship was built in 2004, so this was well before Carnival switched to their more modern, contemporary design ships. So you're gonna find some of those areas that are just kind of like why they design it like this, or you might find yourself scratching your head a little bit at some of the designs. But all in all, I think it's a well-designed ship, and it's very unique, and like I said, it has a lot of character. And for the ship's cleanliness, I actually thought it was really clean, and I was pretty surprised by that, especially considering how old the ship was, and that it does the quick 4 and 5 night runs, which is pretty quick turnaround, which means you've got a lot of passengers constantly getting on and off the ship. So as you can imagine, it might be kind of hard to keep up the ship, but the crew actually did a great job keeping up the ship. And yes, there were some areas that needed to be spruced up a little bit, maybe needed some extra coats of paint, stuff like that. But putting both the ship's design and the cleanliness into one, I'd overall give it an 8 out of 10. Like I said, I really like the design of the ship, and it was surprisingly clean, so I can't really complain. Moving on to the next category.
The food, taste, presentation, and service.
Now, this cruise, I honestly have nothing bad to say about the food, and when I say this, I'm mainly speaking on the buffet food. I found myself going to the buffet a lot more than I usually do, and I've been on about 15 cruises or so, a lot of which with Carnival and some with Royal, and I can confidently say that this was the best buffet food I had ever had on a cruise. Now, while I was on board, I heard plenty of mixed reactions from the buffet food, but me personally, I thought it was great. So take it how you want. I know we all have different taste buds. It's kind of a touchy subject. Just because I may like one thing doesn't mean you'll like the same thing. It just honestly depends on your taste buds, but I thought it was great. And as for all your favorite Carnival foods, like your Guy's Burger, your Blue Iguana, Pizza Pirate, the Seafood Shack, all of those places were great as usual. If I was nitpicking though, the only thing I would have to complain about was Guy's Burgers on the very first day. However, that was the day when we had the delay, and they had to serve all of the people that were on board before us, you know, for the 6 extra hours that they were on board. And then as soon as we got on board, they had to serve us as well, and that was like late into the afternoon, into the evening time. So, and they typically don't keep those food places open into the evening. As you know, if you want your Blue Iguana, if you want your Guy's Burgers, you got to go there before about 6 p.m. or so, because those places are going to be closed. But this time around, it was open for us because of that delay that we had. So because of that, I'll cut them some slack on how that food was tasting. Overall, it was good, but like I said, it was just a bit dry. And as for the main dining room, we ate there about 2 of the 4 nights that we were on board the cruise, and I've got to say that everything was good as far as the food goes. Now, as far as the time that we spent there, that was where I was a bit disappointed. The wait time for our food was pretty long, to be honest with you. And the night that I'm specifically referring to is our formal night. That night specifically, we were in the main dining room for just about 2 hours, if not a little bit over. And I feel like you really, unless you're just kind of hanging out talking after you finish eating your food, there's really no reason you should be in there for almost or over 2 hours. Now, the next night we did go back to the main dining room, and I've got to say the service was much better, so I'm glad it wasn't a consistent thing that was happening where we were waiting for our food for a long time in the main dining room. But it was definitely pretty disappointing that one night when we did have to wait that long. So overall, just taking the food into account on the Carnival Valor, I give it about a 9 out of 10. And as for the service, like wait times and how the food was presented to us, I give that about 7.5 out of 10. Let's move on to the next category.
Accommodation, aka our stateroom.
Now, this cruise we stayed in an ocean view room, and I honestly gotta say that I would do it again, 100%. You get the same amount of room that you'd get in a balcony room, if not more, and for that amount of space, for the price that you pay, it's honestly a great deal. Especially if you're traveling in a larger group, I'd say about 4 to 5 people, or you're a family, maybe with little kids. It's also a great option because you don't have to worry about the little kids going out to the balcony unsupervised or anything like that. Everything's just enclosed and, like I said, in a larger cabin, and you've got that ocean view so you can look out to the different ports that you may have. And like I said, it's an ocean view, so you do have that little, it's not necessarily a porthole, it's like a sit-in window almost. Even if you're an adult, you can sit in that window as well, but say you have kids, they can sit up in that window and still enjoy the view without the dangers that you may have with a balcony cabin. So again, it was a great room with great space, and it was clean, might I add. So overall, I'd give it a 9 out of 10 for accommodation. Next up is
the entertainment, aka onboard activities.
The entertainment this cruise was good. They had a lot of movies, fun games, contests, and parties inside and out. And while I didn't go to any of the production shows, I didn't hear any complaints from any of the people that went to them, so I'm going to take that as a good sign. And the shows being offered on board were shows that I had already seen before on other ships, so if they're anything like those, I can say that you're honestly in for a treat. Also, our cruise director, George, this cruise was great. He was great about going around the ship, talking to guests, interacting, and he even gave me some tips and insight on what it's like to be a cruise director, because for those of you who don't know, it is my goal to one day become a cruise director, and so it was great that he was able to take the time out of his day to be able to talk to me about that, especially with the extremely busy schedule that cruise directors typically have. Now, George is not on the Valor anymore, but if you do want to cruise with him, you can check out the cruise director schedule online or linked below this video. Again, you can check on where he is at, or you can check out what cruise director will be on the Valor for whenever you cruise on this great ship or any other ship that's in the Carnival fleet. But overall, to sum up the entertainment that I saw on board, I give it overall a 9 out of 10. It was really fun. And for the final category,
The ports, Cozumel, Mexico.
Now, as for the ports, or the port, because we only had one this cruise, I've honestly got to say it was a really, really great time. This cruise took us to Cozumel, Mexico, and I've honestly got to say that this place is one of the most diverse places that you can visit as far as activities go, because if you want to chill, you can chill. If you want some thrills, you've got your thrills there as well. There's really just something for everybody to do there. And for our specific visit, we ended up visiting a beach. We went to San Francisco Beach. Now, me personally, I can't necessarily recommend it, and I'm not going to get into it too much. We'll save that story for another video or a live stream or something coming up if you want to know about my experience there. But there are a bunch of popular and different beaches that you go to. One of my favorites is Bucano's Beach. We've been there almost every time we've gone to Cozumel except for this last time, so that's always a great place you can go to. You got Paradise Beach, you got San Martin. There's a whole bunch of different beaches and places that you can go in Cozumel that are guaranteed to give you a great time, and they have different excursions that you can do through Carnival or of course in the port area. That's something that we like to do sometimes. If we don't book a Carnival excursion, we'll just head out in the port area, and there are typically different vendors and things offering those last minute excursions that you can get into. But overall for Cozumel, I'd give it a 10 out of 10. I love Cozumel. It's really, really great, and like I said, there's just something to do for everybody there. But yeah, all in all, this trip was super fun, and I'd 100% recommend the Carnival Valor to you. There's something for everybody, and when I say that, I truly do mean it. If you're looking to relax, you can do that. If you're looking to party, you can do that as well. You really just can't go wrong with choosing the Carnival Valor. And not to mention the price, because like I said, it's one of the cheapest cruise options that you have that can take you off to the Caribbean, aka Mexico, because Mexico is the only destination that Carnival Valor mainly does, with exception of, I believe, a 6 and a 7 night coming up sprinkled into its schedule. But after those 2 or 3 sailings that are the 6 or 7 night cruises, it's going to go straight back to doing those 4 and 5 night cruises full time. But yeah, if you're looking at the Carnival Valor, have no doubt that you're going to have a great time. Just go into it knowing that she's not the biggest, newest, and best ship, so don't go into it expecting having zip lines or roller coasters on board, because that's not there. But what I can say is that you've got just enough of everything that you need to have a fun time while you're on vacation. Family, thank you so much for watching this video. If you've enjoyed it, make sure you go ahead, drop a like, subscribe if you're new, and of course, turn on that post notification bell so you can get notified whenever we post a brand new video here on the channel. We've got more coming out for you real soon. We're gonna have a review on our Carnival Dream trip coming out for you as well. So if you're interested in the Carnival Dream, or you just want to see another video of mine, make sure you check that one out as well. And if you've cruised on the Carnival Valor and you're looking to give some advice or some tips, or even a review of your own, make sure you leave that down in the comments down below, because I'd love to see how your time on board the Carnival Valor has gone, and if you recommend it as well. But once again, family, I've been your host, Nick J, and until I see you in the next video, I'll catch you on the ship side. Bye, everybody.